Hi there, this is Leo D. I'm here to talk today about developing some skills for keyboard improvisation and laying down the basics. Today I want to talk about understanding the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. That forms the basis of the blues, or if you've ever heard the term 3-chord rock music, those are generally the 3 chords that they're talking about. So today all the examples are going to come from the key of C, and every note that we play is derived from a C major scale, which looks like this. So from all the notes in that scale, we're able to derive 3 different major chords. The 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. The 1 chord starts on the first note of the scale, C, and we skip the D and have E as the third of that chord, and then skip F, and G forms the 5th of the chord. So the chord is C, E, G, and here's the notation for that. The next chord I want to talk about is the 4 chord. In this case, it's an F chord. You might know to play that F chord with the root on the bottom, like F, A, C, but for our purposes here, I really want to make a smooth transition from this C chord to the closest place you can play those 3 notes. You're going to keep your thumb on C, because the C is common between these 2 chords, the C chord and the F chord. So we're going to play C, F, A, and here's what the notation for that looks like. Okay, so after that F chord, I want you to go back to the C chord that you started with, and here's what that looks like again. Next, I want to work on the 5 chord, which also we're going to play that as close to this root position C chord as we can. So from C, we're going to just drop the bottom 2 notes of that chord 1 note each, from C and E to a B and a D, while keeping the G note on top. That's a common tone between these 2 chords. So there's the G chord. And here's what that looks like in notation. So all of that together is going to go C, F, C, G, C, but I'm not picking up my hand and moving it way somewhere else to play those chords. They're all like right here, like right under my fingers. C, C, F, F, C, C, G, G, C. Okay, great. Now I want to take it up to the first inversion. So instead of the C on the bottom, we're going to move the C to the top. So the notes that we play for the C chord in first inversion from bottom to top are going to be E, G, C. And here's what the notation for that looks like. Now from that C voicing, the closest place to play an F chord is to keep the C on top and move the 2 lower notes up 1 note each. So E and G become F and A. So there's your F chord, and here's what the notation looks like. And after that, again, I'd like to go back to the C chord that you started with. And then we'll wrap that up by going to the nearest 5 chord, which, let's understand that the note G is in common between the C chord and the G chord. So we're going to play from bottom to top, D, G, and B. Here's what that looks like in notation. Now I'd like to play through that whole progression in the first inversion. So here it goes. C, F, C, G, C. I like to add a little rhythm to it. So here's 2 quarter notes two quarter notes on each chord. There you go. That's starting to sound like some music now. Okay, now let's talk about the next inversion, which is going to take the bottom note that we've had here on the C chord, E, and move that to the top. So building this second inversion C chord from bottom to top is going to be G, C, E. And here's what that looks like in music notation. Okay, from this inversion of that C chord, the closest place to play the F chord is going to be to keep that C note in common between the two, and that's like the middle note of your F chord, or the inner voice. And we're going to just move the other 2 notes of the chord up 1 key. So G and the E are going to go to A and F, while we keep that C in between. So from C to F, and this is what that F chord looks like in notation. So after the F chord, we're going to go back to the C second inversion voicing that we started with here. G, C, and E. And here's what the notation looks like one more time. We're going to wrap up this second inversion voicing by going to the G, which is actually, in this case, our closest way to play G is going to be the root position voicing for G, which is G, B, D. And that looks like this. So if we play that whole progression of 1, 4, 1, 5 in this voicing, it's going to sound like this. So this is a good time to talk about how our ears perceive what we're hearing. When you play a chord, the note that is on the very top is what we hear as the melody. So playing your progression up in this voicing is pretty melodic sounding. You have like a little melody that you hear. It's like E, F, E, D, E. So I would go through all 3 of these different voicing inversions and really get to the point where you can do it without having to think too much about it. Lost my sheet there. Oh well. So go back to the beginning one, starting on root position C. And then the first inversion chords. you can hear there's not quite as melodic a quality to that set, because you're going from the C to the F chord, the top note stays C, so it's not really moving melodically. And then the second inversion is where you really get that lots of movement on the top. Here we go. So those are the three major chords that are derived from a C major scale. It would be great if you understand that. It would be really, depending on how serious you want to get about this stuff, learn that in all the other keys as well. There are only 12. That's one thing that I always say is, there's only 12 keys to learn. I don't think they're going to come out with like a 13th or a 14th key anytime soon. So once you got all 12 keys internalized, that's really all you need to know about. Alright, well, I hope that helps, and at the very least it's a good foundation to have if you didn't already have it. Alright, thank you very much. This is Leo D. Have a great day. Bye-bye.